Where did the soul of Jesus reside between his death on Friday and his resurrection on Sunday? It is perhaps the most pivotal, yet silent, interval in all of human history. For 3 days, the cosmos held its breath. On Friday afternoon, the incarnate God, the Word made flesh, breathed his last. His physical body, lifeless and broken, was taken down from the cross, wrapped in linen, and sealed in a tomb. But a question, as old as the church itself, whispers through the centuries. If his body was in the tomb, where was his soul? Where was the essential, conscious self of Jesus of Nazareth between the closing of the stone on Friday and the bursting forth of light on Sunday morning? The story of this Saturday, this Holy Saturday, begins not in the quiet grief of the disciples, but in the triumphant final cry from the cross. The Gospel of Luke records the last words of Jesus before his death. "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." This was not the gasp of a defeated man, but the deliberate, trusting surrender of his human soul to the Father. His body would go to the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea, but his spirit, his soul, departed into the care of God. This tells us the first and most crucial truth. Jesus was not adrift. He was not in a state of unconscious oblivion. He was, from the very moment of his death, consciously in the hands of the Father. But what does that mean? In a cosmic, geographical, and theological sense. To understand the destination, we must first understand the ancient Jewish conception of the afterlife, which is the world in which Jesus and his disciples lived and thought. They called it Sheol in Hebrew, or Hades in Greek. This was not the hell of final punishment we often think of today, nor was it the heaven of beatific vision. It was the unseen realm, the abode of the dead. It was a shadowy place, a holding cell for all humanity, where the souls of the departed awaited something, a final judgment, a redemption, a resolution. Within this broad realm of Sheol, Jewish thought also spoke of a place called paradise, or Abraham's bosom, a place of comfort and peace for the righteous dead, separated by a great chasm from a place of torment for the unrighteous. This is the backdrop against which the New Testament writers paint their picture of Christ's descent, and one of the most compelling passages comes from the first letter of Peter. In a verse dense with mystery, Peter writes that Christ was put to death in the flesh, but made alive in the spirit, in which he went and proclaimed to the spirits in prison. This has been the source of much theological exploration, giving rise to what the ancient creeds call the harrowing of hell. The imagery is powerful. The victorious Christ in his spirit, descending into the deepest recesses of the underworld, the prison of the dead. But he does not go as a captive, he goes as a conqueror. His purpose there, according to this view, was not to suffer, but to proclaim, to announce his victory, to preach the culmination of God's redemptive plan to those who had died under the old covenant, to the righteous like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who had waited in faith for the promise to be fulfilled. He was there to shatter the gates of this prison, not with weapons of war, but with the authority of his finished work on the cross. He went to lead captivity captive. The image is of a triumphant general, returning from a decisive battle, leading a procession of freed captives in this case, the souls of the faithful from the shadowlands of Sheol into the glorious light of God's presence. We find a stunningly direct confirmation of this from Jesus himself. In his conversation with the penitent thief crucified beside him, the man cries out, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus, in his infinite mercy, replies with a promise that echoes through the ages. "Truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise." Not eventually, not after a long purgation, not at the final resurrection, but today. The destination for the soul of Jesus, and for the soul of this believing thief, was immediately upon death. Paradise. This single statement anchors the entire narrative. It confirms that the conscious self of Jesus was not in a state of suspended animation. He was active, present, and fulfilling promises. So, how do we reconcile these threads? The commitment of his Spirit to the Father, the descent to the spirits in prison, and the promise of paradise. Perhaps the most coherent tapestry we can weave is this. At the moment of his death, the human soul of Jesus, united with his divine person, was immediately in the presence of the Father. This is the ultimate reality. But the location of that presence, in the cosmic geography of the unseen world, was the realm of the dead Sheol. Yet, for him, it was not a place of confinement, but of proclamation. He entered the central square of the city of the dead, as it were, and made a triumphant announcement. He declared his victory over sin and death to the captive audience of all of history. He gathered to himself the souls of the righteous who had been waiting for this very moment, liberating them from the holding cell of the old covenant. And in that very realm, he established paradise. He transformed a section of the abode of the dead from a waiting room into a throne room. When he told the thief, "Today you will be with me in paradise," he was not referring to the third heaven of God's direct presence, which he would fully open upon his ascension. He was referring to this newly established, liberated zone within Hades, the place of comfort and joy for those redeemed by faith, now basking in the presence of their Savior. For those 3 days, the throne of paradise was, in a sense, located in the heart of the conquered territory of death. This narrative resolves the tension. It honors the Jewish understanding of the afterlife that Jesus himself shared. It fulfills the mysterious prophecies and apostolic teachings about his descent. And most importantly, it reveals the profound, comprehensive nature of his work. His death on the cross was not just a surface event. Its shockwaves penetrated to the very core of creation, to the realm of the dead itself. He was not just saving those who would believe after him. He was retroactively saving those who had believed before him. He was the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world, now claiming his own across all of time. This means that the soul of Jesus, between Friday and Sunday, was on a mission. It was a mission of completion. Having accomplished redemption for humanity on the cross, he was now applying the benefits of that redemption to humanity, even to those who had died in hope. He was the firstfruits, not just of a future bodily resurrection, but of a conscious, blessed afterlife for all who are in him. And then, on the third day, the story reached its climax. The soul of the Son, united with the fullness of his divinity, did not simply leave the realm of the dead. He returned to the tomb. He re-entered the physical, material world. The spirit that raised him from the dead re-infused the perfected, glorified physical body that lay in the grave. So, where was Jesus between his death and resurrection? He was in the hands of the Father. He was in paradise, welcoming the penitent thief. He was in the realm of the dead, shattering its chains and proclaiming his victory. He was, in those 3 days, completing his work of redemption, leaving no stone unturned and no corner of creation, not even the grave itself, untouched by his liberating grace. His descent into the heart of death was the final proof that there is nowhere we can go, not even in the darkest Saturday of our souls, where he has not been first, and where he has not won the victory.